All right, guys. So what we're looking at here is how to identify outliers in a set of data. All right, we've already learned about the box plot where you had the 5-number summary. Remember, you had the lowest value here was your minimum value. There's your minimum right here. And then like you see right here, the first quartile is the left side of this box right here, whatever that value is. Then the median, the middle value of all your data is right here. And that's this line right in the mid, right inside the box, not necessarily in the middle. But then you have the third quartile, which is the right-hand side of the box, okay? And remember, that's the median of this upper half. The first quartile was the median of the lower half. The third quartile is the median of the upper half. And then finally, we have over here the maximum, okay? So we have the maximum. Over here, the minimum. And up there, we have the maximum. Now, we learned about the IQR, or interquartile range. So you have the first quartile and the third quartile, and that IQR is this range of values between them. All right, and you did the third quartile minus the first quartile, or Q3 minus Q1. Okay, now, the reason why that value is important here is because that's how we're going to identify an outlier. Okay, an outlier is any data value that is less than the first quartile minus 1.5 times the IQR, or greater than the third quartile plus 1.5 times the IQR. So what in the world is this talking about? Let's go ahead and I'm going to change colors here. Let's just say that each of these dashes on the number line is a value of 1. So the difference between these, or the IQR, is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so in this box plot here, the IQR equals 4. So that means 1.5 times the IQR is going to be 1.5 times 4, which is 6. Okay. Now, just to give ourselves some values here, let's say that our minimum was 5. So we're going with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if I'm trying to see if there are any outliers in this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that first quartile, which in this case, since I numbered these, is 7. All right, that's 7. And I'm going to subtract the 1.5 times the IQR. Well, that was 6. So 7 minus 6 is 1. So way over here, if I extend this number line, way over here, that's the lowest that a value could be. And I'm going to put a little dotted line here. You wouldn't actually draw this on your box plot, but at 1 is where the lowest value is that we could have a value of and have it not be an outlier. All right, let me straighten this up, make it a little nicer. Okay. So in other words, if I had a 0 in this data set, that would be an outlier. If I had a negative value, of course, that would be an outlier. So since my minimum is above that 1, then I know I don't have any outliers on that side. Okay, again, here we have 7 minus 6, which equaled that 1 that we just used. Okay, so now we also use this 6 to go above the third quartile. All right, so our third quartile is 11. 11 plus the 6 equals 17. So again, looking at, if I would have to extend this number line. I don't know why it won't put it where I want it to be. Okay. If I extend that number line out until I get to 17, so 14, 15, 16, it'd be somewhere over here. Okay. That value there of 17, since my maximum has not gone past 17, I know that I do not have any outliers there. Okay, so that's how we would identify them. We would just look at our data and see if there's a value outside of this range. I've heard some people refer to these as like our fences. Okay, and that's a nice way of thinking of it. They're the boundaries of what is a reasonable piece of data. Anything beyond that is an outlier. Okay, so let's look at this set of data here. We've already divided it into the upper half and lower half, which means that our median actually is the median actually is going to be between 23 and 25. If you remember what we looked at last week, we have 8 values, so between the 4th and the 5th is going to be our median. All right, so I'm going to write that down, median. And that right between the 23 and 25 is 24. Remember, you average those and you get the value between. Okay, so that's 24. And then I look over here and I see, okay, well, that means that my first quartile is right between these two 21s. So the Q1 equals 21. All right. And also I have my third quartile, which is going to be directly between the 26 and the 28. Again, you would average 26 and 28 and you get 27. All right. So that tells me now that my IQR is 27 minus 21. Okay. And of course, 1.5 times the IQR, 1.5 times the IQR is 1.5 times 6, which is 9. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. For the lower end, or if you want to call it the lower fence, you're going to do Q1 minus 9. And we said Q1 was 21, so 21 minus 9 is 12. Okay, 21 minus 9 is 12. For the upper fence, we're going to do Q3 plus 9. Well, Q3 is 27. 27 plus 9 is 36. Okay, so here's what we have. If I identify the fences here, the fences actually are at 12 and at 36, and I see that, wait a sec, 10 is less than 12, so 10 is an outlier. 10 is an outlier. Okay. And then also over here at 36, we see that, wait a sec, 42 is greater than 36, so that means 42 is an outlier. Okay. Now, let me just quickly sketch for you the box and whisker plot for this, okay? Because this is something that does make a little bit of a difference, all right? So I'm not gonna draw the entire number line, but I will show you this. We have a minimum value at 10, okay? But because 10 is an outlier, we're gonna put a little X here, okay? We're gonna put an X there. Also, I put my first quartile at 21, so there's my first quartile. And then my median is at 24. So 24. I'm putting a vertical part because that's going to be a line inside the box. And then my Q3 was 27. All right, so this is nice and evenly spaced right here. Okay. But then my maximum was 42, and 42 is way up here. We'll say it's right there. 42 was also an outlier. Okay, so that means that I'm going to put an X there. So what are we doing with all this? Well, let me get our box drawn. Right there. And right there. So there's the box. The whiskers are what the outliers impact, okay? So where do you draw the whisker to if these are outliers? Well, you look at your scores, and if this is an outlier, 10, then you look at the next score that's not an outlier, and that happens to be 21. So the whisker will only go to 21. And you say, well, wait a sec, that's right on that first quartile. And it is, and that's okay. That can happen. Over on this side, 42 was an outlier. So the next highest score that is not an outlier is 28. So you can see right here, if that's 27, all right, here's 28. And I have a short whisker on this side. So guys, you can see why identifying these outliers is significant. If we did not identify outliers, this whisker would be really big like this one would be even longer like this, and it would look like our data was spread out a whole lot more. The reality is that we just have these two really odd scores. Everything else is crammed here in the middle, pretty close together. And by identifying the outliers with X's and only drawing whiskers to values that are not outliers, it makes it our box plot more useful. Okay, let's try this one more time here. On the right, we have a table with the heights of 7 students. We're going to identify any outliers. Well, first of all, notice that this time the values were not given in order. So the first thing I'm going to do is put these in order. So it looks like my lowest one is 47. Okay, we're putting these in order. So 47, then 49. Let's see, I covered that one. I got that one. 52 is the next highest one. And then 55. And then 59. Okay, I used that one and I used that one. All right, so then I have 61 and 81. And one thing you'll get the hang of here is, you know, all these values in the middle clearly are not going to be outliers. We're looking at the 1 or 2 scores usually on the ends, all right? And you can kind of get a sense for which ones might be. just by looking at the values. You know, 47, 49, 52, these are relatively close together. So my guess is that there will not be an outlier down here. But over here, I've got a 20-inch gap between this person and this person. Okay. You know, this student is 81 inches tall. That's really tall, in case you're wondering. Um, uh, what is that? That's, well, 6 feet is 72 inches. So that's almost 7 feet tall. That's like 6'9". All right. I had a student that tall once, but that's pretty tall. All right. So my guess is that that one will be an outlier, but let's go ahead and see. All right. So first of all, I need to identify the median. Since I have 7 scores, my median will be this middle score, 55. Okay, there's our median. And now I have 3 scores on the bottom, in my bottom half. So out of these 3, the middle one right there is Q1. That's the first quartile. My upper one, I have 59, 61, 81. So the middle of those is 61. Okay. Oh, I don't need to write 61 again. That's Q3. That's my third quartile. Okay. And now I can see that my interquartile range, my IQR, is 61 minus 49, which equals 12. Okay, so 1.5 times the IQR is 1.5 times 12, which happens to be 18. Okay, so I'm looking at my left side here, and on the left side, we'll do that in red. So the left, we're going to do Q1 49 minus that 18 we just found, and I get 31. Okay, well, nothing on this left side is below 31, so there are no outliers over here. Okay, on the right-hand side, I'm going to use Q3, which happens to be 61, and I'm going to add 18, and I end up with 79. Well, that right there, okay, 79 is less than 81, so 81 is an outlier. All right, that is an outlier. Okay, so if I'm going to sketch the box plot for this, the minimum is an actual value, so I'm going to go ahead and put a point there at 47. And then my Q1 is 49, so there's the left side of my box. That's 49. And I'm going to go ahead and draw the whisker. My median is 55, so I've got a little bit of a gap here. 55, 55. Guess I could bring that up a little. And then my Q3 is 61, so I've got another spread here to 61. The max 81 is, you know, that's significantly further up here. That's probably about here. But I'm going to put an X there because that's an outlier. So as I'm looking to draw the whisker to this side, I look at Q3, and actually Q3 is the next highest score that's not an outlier. So the whisker on this side is not even there, okay? So we have our box in the middle. Try to draw this straight. There we go. We have our box in the middle, our outlier over here, and our short whisker over here. And that would be what the box plot would look like in this case. Okay? So I've given you a little bit of practice. I'm not having you actually draw the box plots right now, but these first two problems are just finding the interquartile range. Um, and then these five down here, you're going to need to find or identify any outliers that happen to exist. Okay. The Google form has all these problems on there, so you can refer to that and submit your answers, and hope you do well. If you have any questions, log on to our Google Meet or email me, and I'd be happy to help you out. Okay?